One of the most common and most nagging injuries for long distance runners is shin splints. So in this video, I'm gonna share with you the 4 main causes of what contribute to shin splints and what you can start to put into place right now to overcome shin splints so you can run stronger, longer, and more healthy. My name is Dr. Jordan Fairley, and I've been working with athletes for an extremely long time. And back when I was an athletic trainer, they used to just tell you, ice it and tape it. And that was not helping treat the cause of shin splints in the first place. What I found was that shin splints were super common for people who are just getting into running, people who are running out on hard concrete or asphalt streets, and for track athletes who took the winter off and are just getting into their spring training. I'm going to share with you the other main causes and also what you can do, but first let's take a look at a detailed idea of what is contributing to shin splints. What better way to get a detailed look of what shin splints are than this? So the shin splints is along the shin bone, the tibia bone on the front part of your leg here. What you can see is the shin bone comes down, it goes into your ankle, but you also have all these muscles that attach to your shin bone here. So your calves, your soleus, all the deeper level muscles, they all attach to the inside border of that shin bone. So one of the main contributors to shin splints is really tight calves over time, and also weak anterior tibialis on the opposite side. So if you have balled up, tight calves here, it's gonna cause a pulling on the shin bone, and so that's why you get that stress syndrome on the front part here, and it feels like pulling, it feels like ripping, it feels like tearing, it feels like stabbing. So one of the things you can do is start to break up the calf muscles. So in this position, just really simply, you can have some type of foam roller, there's tons of them out there, but start to apply some weight and roll out the calf muscle here. And by loosening up the calves, you're gonna be starting to loosen up the muscles that are pulling on the shin. If that's not enough for you, you can put one foot over and apply some more weight and roll up and down. You can roll side to side to get deeper levels of cross friction fibers against those muscle grains. Or you could do what I like to call the pin and stretch. So maybe right there, it's super tight, that hurts a lot. I can apply some pressure and then start to dorsiflex my foot, which lengthens the calf on the backside and breaks up that calf even more. So again, by just going into different angles, rolling out the calf, loosening the calves, you're gonna loosen up that pulling on the shin bone, which is why I also think it's really important for you to be doing some type of calf stretch. A really easy one is just going up into this position, up on your toes, and then lengthening the calves, or also doing a calf stretch up against a wall where you're starting to stretch the calves there. So now that you have an idea of what the shin splints look like and now how tight calves can really pull on the front part of the shin bone, I want to talk about the main contributing factors. So one of the first ones is what we talked about, what we see with high school athletes as they're first getting into track season. They took off the fall, they took off the winter, and now all of a sudden they're starting to run on super hard surfaces and they're putting a lot of pounding into their shin. So if they are undertrained, or if you are undertrained, if you're just getting into running for the first time, your shin bone, the lower leg bone, hasn't been able to adapt to that stress, the constant repetitive pounding from the ground into that leg bone. And so it's gonna take time for your bones to start to adapt to that stress and get stronger. So if you are undertrained, it is very common to start to get that stress syndrome on the front part of the shin bone. What you can start to do to mitigate this, to help yourself out, is to ease into running. So first, take it really slow. Maybe at first you're starting to run and then alternate with walking, run, alternate with walking, or you're starting to just make sure that you're running primarily on softer surfaces. So there is gonna be more of a hard impact if you're running on something like concrete or asphalt compared to dirt in grass. So if you start to get some of that shin pain on the front part of your leg bone, start to choose to run onto soft surfaces like dirt and grass. Another big contributor is how you are running. So the main thing I see is that if people are overstriding, meaning their foot, when it hits the ground, is in front of their center of gravity, the ground reaction forces from the ground are gonna go straight into your shin bone, and then knee, and then hip, and then lower back. So instead, what I want you to think about is having a slight forward lean, and when your foot hits the ground, they should be able to barely see your toes. If your foot lands out in front of you, when it touches and you look down, if you can see your entire foot, you are overstriding. Instead, if you had a forward lean when your foot hits the ground, if you could maybe see the front part of your toes or not see your toes at all, then you know that your foot is under your center of gravity and the ground reaction forces are going to be equally distributed up throughout your entire body. A simple way to train this is with a forward lean. So if you just start out in one place and lean forwards up until the point where you would start to fall over, whatever body angle that is at, that is how you should be running. So for an example, it would be there. My foot is underneath my center of gravity and I have this body angle. That is the body angle I should be maintaining as I'm running. That will help make sure that you're distributing forces up throughout your body evenly rather than just into your shin bone. So we talked about how the ground reaction forces and needing to ease into running could be contributors to shin splints. So if you already have shin splints, what can you do about it? One of the main things is to start to roll out your calves, which we showed you earlier. But the next piece is start to strengthen the opposing muscle group, so the front side of your shin bone. So if your calves are becoming overworked, it's pulling, right? But the muscles on the front part, the anterior tibialis, gets weak over time. So we need to strengthen this front side as well to support our shins. So one of the easiest things you can start to do is something called toe raises. So you're just standing in place, or maybe you're sitting in a chair and you just start to raise your toes all the way up. And at first it might not feel like anything, but if you do this 30, 40, 50 times, you'll really start to feel these muscles start to engage and get stronger. I also like to end every single run with heel walks. So just by walking to my car, from the trail to the car, walking straight onto your heels in this dorsiflexed position. After you do this for 50 meters to 100 meters, you'll start to feel, again, the front part of the shin start to get really strong, and it's going to counterbalance the tight calves. So that's another thing you can start to do to help yourself get out of shin splints. Another thing you need to start doing if you have shin splints is work on the mobility of your ankle. So if your ankle has decreased dorsiflexion, so coming up, toe up, then your shin is going to have to start to overwork over time, and then also start to stretch your shin as well as the backside. So just a simple way to start to get some ankle mobility is to start to put your weight over onto your big toe. So keeping your big toe and your heel directly on the ground, you can put your weight onto your big toe and it's going to start to increase the dorsiflexion of this part of your ankle. So just doing this, going side out, directly over your toes and inward, you're getting different plane lines of the ankle. Next part would be to start to actually strengthen or stretch, the front part of your shin bone. So I like to do this just by tucking the toes back and then sitting back on your heels. If this is the first time you've ever done this, it'll probably be really uncomfortable, but you should just feel a nice stretch on the bottom part, the front part of your shin here. Just sitting like this for a while will start to stretch that front part of the anterior tibialis on the front part of the shin, and then you can get even more into this stretch by pushing your toes into the ground and also lifting your knee up. By lifting the knee up, it's lengthening that front part even more. Pushing the toes is using those muscles, so you're stretching that front part of the shin. And then lastly, we want to counteract this by, again, stretching the backside of the calves. You can do this up against the wall or into a pose where you're bringing your hips up and starting to bring your heels down to the ground and stretch the backside of the legs. You can do one leg at a time. You can go heels up and down to counterbalance. But to start to stretch that back side of the calves, the front side of the calves, and to increase the dorsiflexion and mobility of your ankle. All right, now you have an amazing understanding of what contributes to shin splints, and now you know exactly what you can do about it too. So we talked about the four main things of how needing to ease into running, being undertrained, also having tight calves, pulling on the shin over time. We talked about lack of mobility of the ankle and shins, as well as needing to run on softer surfaces. So try not to spend your time running on asphalt and cement all the time. And we also shared exactly what you can do about it. So I hope that you get a greater understanding and this helps you overcome shin splints. If you have any other questions or concerns about how you can be a more healthy, happy runner, please leave a comment below, share this with your friends, and I'll see you on the trails. Wait. Before you go, I want to say thank you again for watching this video. And I also want to invite you to the Vital Stride Community Facebook group where runners like you are asking running related questions and I'm helping people overcome repetitive running injuries. I look forward to seeing you in the group.